Hello there. Well, for decades the UK government, both the current and previous administrations, has played a crucial role in the shaping of the country's economic and social landscape. However, rather than ensuring fairness and prosperity for all, policies have been favoured with corporate interests at the expense of ordinary workers. Now, this has led to a system where full-time employment no longer guarantees financial security. Wages have stagnated and essential services have deteriorated. By design, the government has created an economic framework that maintains inequality and prevents working class people from achieving a fair standard of living. One of the clearest indicators of an unfair system is wage stagnation. Many large companies, such as the big supermarkets, the big takeouts and drive-ins, fast food outlets, continue to pay workers minimum wage. Now, this is despite making billions in profit, and they make billions. In theory, the government could intervene, and they could intervene by ensuring that all workers receive a real living wage. However, instead of enforcing higher wages, successive governments have allowed corporations to maximise profits while underpaying employees. Now, this forces many full-time workers to rely on government support, such as the working tax credits and universal credit, because their wages alone are insufficient to cover basic expenses. In addition to failing workers, the government has repeatedly reduced corporate tax rates, arguing that this will encourage investment and job creation. In reality, these tax cuts have mostly benefited large businesses and indeed the wealthy. While public services have been starved of funds, essential services such as the NHS, education, welfare support have suffered significant cuts, disproportionately affecting lower incomed individuals. Instead of reinvesting in society, these tax breaks have allowed corporations and billionaires to accumulate even more wealth, further widening the gap between the rich and indeed the working class. Another major factor contributing to economic inequality is the privatisation of public services. The privatisation of utilities such as water, energy, transportation has led to skyrocketing costs while service quality has declined. Instead of being run for the public good, these industries now prioritise profit for shareholders. For example, water companies continue to raise prices despite reports of environmental damage and mismanagement. Similarly, the rail network has become one of the most expensive in Europe, making commuting unaffordable for many workers. Housing is one of the biggest financial burdens for working people in the UK. Due to lack of affordable housing and poor rent controls, many individuals and families spend an overwhelming proportion of their income on rent and mortgage repayments. Despite all the promises to address the issues, Successive governments have failed to implement policies that would make housing more affordable. Instead, they just focus on remained on protecting landlords or developers or both. And, of course, these profit in the crisis, while millions struggle to find stable and affordable accommodation. Now, following the 2008 financial crash, the government implemented austerity measures that disproportionately impacted the most vulnerable in society. Cuts to social services, disability support and pension allowances such as the winter fuel have made it increasingly difficult for people to survive on low incomes. While politicians justify austerity as a necessary step to reduce government spending, they continue to protect the financial interests of the corporations and the wealthy elite. Instead of prioritising the well-being of pensioners, the sick, the disabled, these groups are treated as an economic burden. That's right, we're an economic burden. Another issue contributing to low living standards is the rise of insecure employment. The government has allowed companies to exploit workers through 0 hours contracts, gig economy jobs and other precarious work arrangements. Many individuals working for companies such as Deliveroo and Uber Eats, earn barely enough to survive, with no guaranteed hours, no sick pay and no job security. This shift towards insecure work has been encouraged by the government's policies to favour business flexibility over workers' protections. One of the biggest barriers to change in public is public apathy. Many people recognise the unfairness of the system, but they also feel powerless to challenge it. The government and corporations rely on this apathy to maintain the status quo. However, history has shown that meaningful change is possible when people unite. And we can go back over decades, centuries even. Let's go to the Peasants' Revolt of 1381. The trade union movements of the 19th and 20th centuries and successful boycotts around the world have demonstrated that collective action can force governments and businesses to change. Now, there are potential solutions for a fairer system. If the government was truly committed, which they're not, by the way, to improving our living standards, several reforms could and would need to reduce the need for government support programs, such as benefits, raising the minimum wage to a real living wage, ensuring that the wages reflect the actual cost of living. This would reduce the need for government support programs. We could tax excessive corporate profits. Closing loopholes, increasing corporate taxes would generate revenue for the public services. Reversing privatisation, bringing essential services such as energy, water and rail back under public ownership would reduce the cost for consumers. Implementing stronger rent controls, capping rent increases and building more affordable houses that could prevent exploitation by landlords. Strengthening workers' rights, banning zero contract hours and enforcing better protections for our employees would create job stability. And we've got encouraging consumer action, organising boycotts against companies who refuse to pay fair wages to their employers. And how that would pressure them into changing their policies. You know, the current system is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to do. The UK government has consistently prioritised corporate interests over the needs of ordinary people. This is resulting in a society where full-time workers struggle to survive, public services are underfunded, and the rich continue to accumulate wealth. Now, these changes, or the change that is needed, isn't going to come from politicians who benefit from this system, and they do. But it's going to come from the collective action of the people who suffer under it. Only by challenging corporate greed, demanding fair wages, holding governments to accountable, we can create a fairer society where everybody has the opportunity to thrive. Take care. Bye now.